Hey guys, today we have the long-awaited 6th generation Toyota RAV4. So the RAV4 is completely new for 2026, and from the design perspective, it looks really nice. I think Toyota did a decent job, and the car looks even a little bit bigger, but it isn't. The dimensions are very similar to the previous generation model. The car still sits on Toyota's TNGA-K platform, so we have a strut front suspension, multilink setup in the back. In our tested limited model, we have 8.1 inches of ground clearance. If you get a more rugged Woodland edition, you'll get 8.5 inches. However, if you get a GR Sport, you'll get 7.9 inches, so the car will be a little bit lower. It always comes with passive non-adaptive dampers, which is a good thing because it's a RAV4 commodity vehicle. You want to keep the maintenance cost low. It starts at around $33,000 and goes up to $51K. How crazy is that? Almost $50K for a RAV4. I don't know what to think about it, but it's the times we live in. So the new RAV4 comes in 3 different styles, if you will. We have our core styles, so the models LE, XLE, and Limited belong to the core family. Then we have Sport, SE, XSE, and a GR Sport, and Rugged, the Woodland edition, so you can attack trails and show who the boss is in your RAV4. Not gonna lie, I really like the styling, just not sure how I feel about this tiny Toyota logo. In the days when manufacturers are trying to present their logos and make them big, Toyota is actually going smaller. I really also like the color combination of our tester, this bluish, grayish exterior color and beige fall leather interior. We have 2 powertrain options in the RAV4. They're all electrified. There is no more naturally aspirated option. Let's take a look under the hood. We don't have struts, and where is this stick? Oh, it's mounted right here. Oh, come on. So the 2.5 liter is naturally aspirated, makes on its own 183 horsepower, powers front wheels, and the power goes down via an e-CVT. So typical Toyota setup, it's a 5th generation hybrid setup, which has been improved, and I can already tell you super fuel efficient. Getting 50, even 60 mpg sometimes is not a problem. Alrighty, let's close the hood. Feels pretty light. And take a look at the interior space, because that's also where a lot of changes happened. Let's start with the seats. They look very nice. They're wrapped in synthetic leather, super comfortable. We do have 2-way lumbar support. They're heated and cooled in our top trim. No massage function like in a Volkswagen Tiguan, but let's be real, we don't need that. We have very useful door pockets, multi-tiered storage. All windows are fully automatic, memory seat. I wish we had power folding mirrors in the top trim. Would be nice to see if you have to squeeze in tight parking spaces, but it's okay. Very easy to get in and out of it, and the driving position is also very good. I'm 6'1", feel very comfortable inside, have good visibility, cannot complain at it whatsoever. Let's start this thing up. I was hoping that I would change the chime in the new generation RAV4, but that's totally fine. The cabin design is also completely different. Feels more open compared to the previous generation. We have lots of useful storage. 2 wireless chargers, so yourself and your passenger can charge your phones. Another deep storage area here. Cup holders, which can be rearranged if needed. Here's our armrest, very deep. Got a 12-volt power outlet and a USB-C charging port. Also 2 USB-C charging ports here. And opens in Lexus style. You can also flip it if you want to have a table and, I don't know, eat your mac chicken. That's my guilty pleasure after I finish filming. I always treat myself with a mac chicken. The glove box is also pretty decent when it comes to storage, so no complaints here. The only complaint that I have about this cabin is its quality. We have a lot of hard touch plastics. Everything up here on top is hard touch. We do have some injection molded plastic here, a little bit softer materials. It doesn't feel as nice as a Honda CR-V or a Volkswagen Tiguan, but what matters is all touch points, everything that you interact with feels nice. Good amount of physical controls. We have our climate controls here, very simple functions, front and rear defrosters and temperature control. If you want to control more of your climate functions, you can pull out a menu here. The infotainment system is all new for the RAV4, features somewhat clean interface, easy to interact with, it's idiot-proof, typical Toyota design, very, very well implemented, quick to respond, no issues with connecting to Apple CarPlay, good responsiveness, and pretty good graphical layout. Right in front of us we have a customizable gauge cluster. We can change the design of the gauges. We can have 2 dials, which look a little bit old school in this day and age. You can display your navigation map, either a built-in system or whatever you're using for your phone projection. I have Waze right here, driver assistance view, fuel economy view, and on the left-hand side, you can see your trip computer, some other information about a vehicle. So everything you need to know is there, and we also get a head-up display in our top limited trim. Digital mirror, which I'm not a biggest fan of, but one thing I learned, if my trunk is fully packed, it's nice to have storage for our sunglasses and very roomy and spacious cabin. Not frustrating to use it. Good amount of physical controls, our dimmers here, you know what's where you get inside and have no issues. We do get a 360-degree camera system. We put it into drive. We can change our views. Put it in reverse. Not the highest resolution, but gets the job done. The digi-stick for our transmission kind of reminds me of what Porsche has for PDK, that brown shaver design. Let's take a look at the back seat. We can change the tilt of the back seat using this little lever here, or fold the seats completely flat. Also pretty easy to step in, and I have an okay amount of leg room. I feel comfortable being 6'1". The RAV4 is not going to feel as spacious as a Tiguan or a CR-V, which are main 2 competitors in my eyes for the RAV4. We still have some soft touch materials here, door pockets, heated outer seats, USB Type-C ports, climate vents, armrest with cup holders. Wish we had a 3rd zone climate control, but also no biggie. And let me know what you guys think about the design. I think the beige color really helps brightening up the space, because I've seen some cars that have dark colors and they look a little bit boring and on a cheaper side, but this looks okay. We can slide the seats now. We have our battery pack underneath. The car takes regular gas, which you'll appreciate. Don't have to spend more money on premium. Power liftgate, kind of expected. Here's our cargo cover. We have a 12-volt power outlet here. Would be nice to see a regular household power outlet. Some extra storage here. Subwoofer for our JBL system, which actually has been tuned pretty nicely, and I didn't have to mess much with an equalizer. All their JBLs have been on a bass heavier side. This sounds pretty good. We have some storage under the floor and a compact size spare tire, which is always a great thing to see. The cargo area is very practical, nicely squared off, and will meet most families' needs. Alrighty, so let's get to the most exciting part and see what it's like to drive the new RAV4. Car's already running hybrid mode seamlessly. Let's put it into drive and take off in complete silence. Okay, so we made it to our favorite back road. I know driving dynamics is probably one of the last things that you worry about when you drive a RAV4, but I'm really interested in what Toyota did in here, because they implemented their version of Mazda's kinematic posture control. Basically what it does is it breaks the inner rear wheel to reduce body roll and make the car feel a little bit more planted. I'm gonna put it into sport mode. Nice responsiveness from the hybrid powertrain. Select these corners, and yeah, I can feel the system kick in, breaking that inner rear wheel. It doesn't reduce body roll, let's be real, but it makes the car feel a little bit more planted. Maybe doesn't feel super natural, and I don't know if there's a way to disable it, but the RAV4 is pretty nice when it comes to driving dynamics. Obviously, it's not something that you're gonna drive aggressively and toss it into corners like I'm doing right now. We do have some safe understeer, on the limit, but wow, it's pretty tossable, and the hybrid drivetrain is pretty responsive. That's one thing that really surprised me. And at the end of the day, we do have that 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder and extra torque that comes from electric motors, which the more I drive those hybrid systems makes me really question the necessity of a turbocharged engine. I'd rather have a hybrid that's made it to a conventional automatic transmission and get that power delivery of a naturally aspirated engine with a little bit of boost from electric motor. But what really matters to us, really matters, is how the new RAV4 drives on a daily basis, and Toyota vastly improved it when it comes to comfort. It may not be day and night difference when you drive those two cars back to back, but it's more comfortable. Toyota improved the rigidity of the platform, so whenever you hit any bumps, potholes, expansion joints, the car reacts to them in a nicer way. And even on the limited trim, we only have 18-inch rims, so we have a good amount of sidewall. There isn't much vibration that gets transmitted into the cabin. It's also better isolated, less road noise, less wind noise. Toyota put more deadening materials, so something that RAV4 has struggled in the past was pretty loud cabin, especially around 70 and above miles per hour. Into 80, 85, maybe not in complete silence, but it's gonna be a much more quiet experience. Also, another strong aspect of this thing is fuel economy. Like I said, you can average 50 without any issues. Driving around town, in the city, on a highway, in combined cycle, that has not been a problem to me. Even getting into New York City from North Jersey, where I live, I got 50 miles per gallon, and I was stuck in traffic. The hybrid system is just so well calibrated. It knows when to kick in the engine. It knows when to use the battery power from the battery. And when the transition in power source happens, it's seamlessly. You can't even tell that the engine kicked in. It gets a little nosy once you start revving it, the nature of CVT and just a hybrid system in general, but it's a really nice driving car. What I really like about it is it doesn't provoke me to drive fast whatsoever. I get in this thing, turn my brake off, and I can just drive it. We also have a very good set of driver assistance systems, lane centering, adaptive cruise control, traffic jam assist, so you can drive hands-free in traffic. You just have to keep your eyes on the road because there's a camera right here that monitors your eyes and will yell at you within the first 10 seconds of you not looking at the road. And we also have automatic lane changes, something that was exclusive to Lexus models in the past, now comes in a RAV4. So yeah, it's probably my top pick if you want to buy a compact SUV. Second place would be for a CR-V, and then third, Volkswagen Tiguan together with a Mazda CX-50. If you want to lease something, then I would get a Tiguan in the first place. A little better tech implementation, nice powerful engine, especially if you get a turbo variant. So yeah, it's a very well designed car that, you know, many people will appreciate, and no wonder why it's been the best selling passenger car in America. Toyota did something right here, and something that I have worked on for years. They just improved it, and it feels really nice. Anyways, if you guys have any questions about this thing, drop a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.